Hey, welcome to EMS Office Hours. This is Jim Hoffman, and this is your Monday Minutes. Today is a sort of more of an audio presentation of Office Hours. I didn't have a lot of time this week to prepare a quick PowerPoint deck, but I wanted to give this audio content out to you. This is really part one of some tips and some thoughts when you're doing some EMS documentation. Okay, so today I want to go over some of the basic things that you really should think of including on your call report. Now, this is something that a lot of us overlook as providers. A lot of times this is glanced over in your EMS training, right? But there is so much information that you should be including on your call report that not only protects you in your documentation and the legal aspect of it, but it also follows the patient throughout their care. So it's important that you document appropriately and that you follow some key elements when you're doing that. So let's go ahead and just go over some of this stuff, right? Of course, you want your information, your crew information, what unit you're on, things like that. You're going to get your dispatch information on the call report as well, and you want all your patient's demographics, right? Now, this, of course, includes the patient's past medical history, whatever medications that might be on, allergies that they might be on, changes to recent medication, things like that, right? Now, you want to also try to document, guys, what care the patient has gotten before you arrive, whether it's from bystanders or from first responders. Okay, this is important stuff because if somebody got aspirin before you got there and you don't document it, but yet you didn't give it, they might not want to know why you didn't give aspirin to that patient having chest pain, but yet the patient did already get it from the first responder or maybe even by bystanders or even given to themselves, right? So things like that are very important, okay? Try to get your pertinent history, at least the pertinent history, right? The stuff that's relevant to the present illness or the present injury that the patient is having. Okay. Of course, you want to get your vital signs, and you want to make times on the patient's vital signs. Depending upon the patient's condition, you might be taking those vital signs every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, but you want to get a few sets of vital signs so you show some sort of trending going on with that patient's vital signs. And of course, you're going to document your patient assessment, and you want to document the guys that's specific to the patient complaint and that's specific to the protocol that you're operating under, okay? Of course, any procedures that you perform. Now, a key with this, guys, when you perform a procedure, whether it's an IV access or you're giving oxygen, whatever the case may be, try to go ahead and time when you did that procedure or when you provided that care. And the same thing with treatment, okay? You're giving some sort of specific treatment, drugs, or the patient's response to treatment. Go ahead and document that as well. And again, write down the times. It's important if you give a drug to note when a patient's response, whether positive or negative, is after your administration of that drug. So make sure you give that time when you give the medicine and a time of when the patient responds, negative or positively, okay? Think about doing the reassessment on the patient. A lot of stuff here, right? A lot of information to be giving out, okay, in a call report. Luckily today, most call reports are electronic in nature, and a lot of these are already automated in your report, but you still need to make sure it's documented, whether it's from a checkbox or whether it's from something that you're actually filling in by reading it or typing it in, okay? So do that reassessment too. Again, very important based upon the treatment that you're giving or what's evolving with that patient. MI, strokes, diabetic, things like that. Follow through. Get your reassessment. Follow through for what you've done and what's happening to the patient as you're caring for them. Okay. Make sure you go ahead and document any receiving personnel that might be there. If you're giving your report to a doctor, document you gave the report to the doctor. If the nurse is the one you gave it to, document it was the nurse. Document who signs it, whether the doctor or the nurse. Very important things, guys, because this is where the report is going to follow that patient around way after you leave, okay? And it might come down to it where they want to find out who did EMS talk to in that emergency department. And it's a good idea to put down that you spoke to a doctor, you spoke to a nurse when you gave that patient handoff, okay? Also document communication you have with medical control, all right? Put down if you contacted them, why, and again, the time, Okay, document the time that you contacted med control and what order they gave you, what you followed, what you were able to follow, things like that. Okay. Another thing that I have found as well that's a good thing to document is patient belongings. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had many a time where I have failed to document that I handed the patient's clothing or a cane or prescriptions or a purse or whatever it is, and then the patient comes back long after I'm gone saying they don't have their purse, they don't have their cane, they don't have the keys to their house. And now whether or not they took with them when you took them to the hospital, right? It doesn't matter at that point because you didn't document it. Document what the patient brought with them to the hospital and who you left that with. Most of the time, it's going to be with the patient. If you don't bring anything that the patient owned with them to the hospital, then document that you brought none. So it's documented, so that it's made aware to whoever might read that, if should the patient state that they lost something, whether or not they even had it with them. And the fact that you are being knowledgeable and document that way ahead of time shows that you are aware of what was happening and that if there was anything, you would have left it with that patient. Okay. Of course, any copies of EKG strips, rhythm strips, any monitoring that you might have done for the patient, EKG-wise, whether it's invasive or non-invasive, all important stuff to document. And then, of course, you might have to sign it depending upon your policies, procedures, things like that. You may or may not have to sign that call report, okay, or even your partner sign it to say that you guys are on board together, that you both reviewed the documentation and are in agreement with what went on during that patient care. Guys, that's it for this segment. Next week, I'm going to have part 2 of this documentation sort of pearls going on, okay? And we're going to talk about other things like intubation, pacing, medication, administration, stuff like that. So I'm more breaking that down a little bit more when it comes to documentation. So I hope you can use these Monday minutes. If you have some minutes of your own, send them to me. It's jhoffman at emsseo.com. If you don't have time to send me an email, that's great. Do me a favor, just post below in the notes here whether you enjoyed this, you didn't enjoy it, share it on Facebook, tweet it out, let people know that these Monday Minutes are available and that they're out there and that they are free. Okay, guys, if you want some really great training, check out TurboMedic. Right now, I have some really cool things here. It's called TurboMedic Highlights, and these are really some nice content that I pulled from the archives of TurboMedic. Gives you a little glimpse inside TurboMedic, and you can get your hands on this right now by just clicking on the graphic here and go check out everything that's included in this first installment of TurboMedic Highlights. So I hope you can maybe find that interesting and pick up a copy for yourself. Guys, again, any questions, comments, ideas for some Monday Minutes of your own, send them over to me, jhoff at emsseo.com. Until next week, as always, stay safe.